Welcome to the Raven Space on YouTube. My name is Jason, and this is Raven Space Daily, where we talk about Baltimore Ravens news every single weekday. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. We're going to have some topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about another injury for the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk about a signing for a linebacker, and we're also going to talk about the Ravens offense and how it's doing. But at the end, we do my favorite thing, is a mailbag question. We answer a question from you guys, the Raven Space community. So we're going to get started. First, I want to say please subscribe to the Raven Space on YouTube if you're not yet subscribed for the best Baltimore Ravens content on the internet. Also, a special shout out to our Patreon subscribers, because without you guys, none of this is possible. Thank you guys so much. Now we're going to hop into the first topic of the day, and it talks about Brent Urban and the fact that he was placed on injured reserve today due to his Les Frank injury. He's going to need surgery, so I think we can expect that he will be out for the rest of the season. Again, sad news for a guy like Brent Urban for two reasons. The first reason simply was he was performing out of his mind. He's been playing the best he's ever played in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. I don't know what he did this offseason, but it worked, and it worked very well. He was a player that was climbing up the ranks. In my opinion, he may have been the third best defensive lineman for the Baltimore Ravens, behind, of course, Michael Pierce and then Brandon Williams. So it's sad to see him, go over to the wayside because of his injury. And it's also sad because his rookie year, he was injured for the whole season. He is one of those players that are injury prone. I think after two season-ending injuries, you can call someone injury prone. And I think that as a kid, as a person who wants to see other people happy, and for these people who are chasing their dreams, I want to see them achieve their dreams, especially if they're in the Baltimore Ravens uniform. And right now he can't because of his injury, so it really does suck for him. Brent Urban, again, was a dominant player in the preseason. And though he wasn't as dominant in the regular season, he played that position great. He did what you had to do. The thing about the 3-4 defense is that a lot of times what the linemen do does not show up on paper. But he was doing everything they had to do. Now it's time for players like Chris Wormley to step up. I still think Patrick Ricard is a little far off from playing consistently. So it's time for Chris Wormley to step up and show the Ravens why he's such a good player coming out of Michigan. So I am excited to see Wormley play. But again, super sad news about this news for Urban. I really wish him the best, and I know that you guys, the Raven Space community and the Baltimore Ravens community, really wish him the best as well. We're going to go to some good news, which is good and bad if you interpret it. But the Ravens have signed a veteran linebacker, Jonathan Freeney, and Ryan Malik. If you guys know who Ryan Malik is, he's a tight end that was on the Baltimore Ravens before, but he was released. And then Jonathan Freeney is a linebacker for the Patriots. He is not a superstar player, and he seldom will play for the Ravens defense. He's a special teamer who was going to replace Bam Bradley, who got injured. But I think the bigger news is the re-signing of Malik as a tight end, because you can read into it in a way that says, Max Williams may be really hurt. He may be out for longer than we thought. And the reason is because if you didn't need a tight end, why would you bring a tight end on? Especially since the Ravens right now were very comfortable rolling with 3 tight ends. I'm a little worried about Max. Again, he was in a walking boot. A walking boot is no fun. A walking boot is not a joke. I know they're professional athletes, but still, it's not a joke. And I think that if they would not have brought in a Malik if they didn't think they wanted to keep him just in case. And that's what I think it is. So let's keep an eye on Max Williams, because there's a chance, in my opinion, that he may be out for several weeks. I mean, a long time. Not just 2 weeks. I think a super long time. So, but just to talk about Freeney again, he's a smart player. Of course, when you play for Bill Belichick, you are a smart player. That's who he picks. He picks players that can develop because they're smart. So he's going to be a good special teamer. He won't make mistakes on special teams. He's not a great player. He just doesn't have the ability to be great, in my opinion, on defense as a constant starter. But he will be a great special teamer, and he's one of those guys that will be in the league for a long time because he can play special teams and he can talk to younger players, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm happy that he's on the Ravens now, and not other teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're going to move on to the third topic of the day, and it's about the offense and Joe Flacco and how disappointing they've been this season. And so Flacco said in an interview today that the statistics are overblown. And you know, of course he feels like that because the Ravens are ranked last in the NFL in offense. I mean, in that last game we looked last, but the other 2 games we did it, and that was Joe Flacco's point. Joe Flacco said that we had a very, very bad game against the Jaguars. You cannot deny that. I will not deny that. But he said the first 2 games, they were a good offense, and they played to win the game. And so I understand what he's saying. He's saying basically that, of course, we didn't have a big passing yards in the first 2 games. We were up by 20 points in the third quarter. You do not pass the ball you don't do that. You run the ball. All the great teams do this. The Patriots run the ball when they're up that much, right? That's why LeGarrette Blount had the most rushing touchdowns last year. The Patriots in the second half of the season and in the fourth quarter ran the ball more than any team in the NFL last year because they're used to being up. And so that's what was happening with the Ravens. So Joe Flacco saying it's not fair to say we're the worst when we're playing the way we have to play. Now, of course, that last game was just unacceptable. And because of that last game, they were the worst. They wouldn't have been the worst if they didn't play that last game so badly. So you can see both sides. On this side right here, you have Joe Flacco saying, hey, we're a better offense than you think. The first 2 games we had low passing yards. Well, because it's smart to run the ball when you're up that much. And then you have the detractors saying, hey, good offenses don't put up stinkers, especially against teams like Jacksonville. Even though Jacksonville's a good team, and they're a couple years away from their prime, right? They're not a Super Bowl contender. So, you know, you can't have it both ways, Joe Flacco. So I see what people are saying. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think that these numbers are overblown? Or do you really think that Joe Flacco and the Ravens are going to struggle and they're going to be a bad offense? Let me know in the comments below. And we're going to go to my favorite part of the show, the Raven Space Mailbag. Again, if you want to send questions in, please send them to mailbag@theravenspace.com. I have a question. If you guys send questions in, please throw your name in there, because sometimes I have to use your email address name, like I had to do for Charm City. And Charm City asks, hey, sorry to bring up politics, but do you believe that the recent protests may have contributed to the Ravens' loss to the Jags? If so, do you think it will play a part this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Thank you so much for your question, Charm City. And this is going to be a very quick topic. I mean, the answer is no. I can see what people are saying as a distraction, but the reason that the Ravens lost is because they were not ready and they got their butts whipped by the Jags. And they got their butts whipped so hard that it made us worry about them as a team in the future. That's how bad it was. It didn't have anything to do with the protests. Again, you guys, we all got to remember that these are professionals. They've been playing football for their whole entire lives. When they're on the field, they don't think about stuff like that. No one's thinking about our president no one's thinking about these people. No one's thinking about stuff like that. So I do not think you have to worry about it happening in the Pittsburgh game, simply because, again, these are professionals and they lost because they're the Ravens, and sometimes the Ravens let us down. And that's just the truth. There's been several times over these past couple of years where we think the Ravens are going to be good, and they win 3 games in a row, and then they lose 3 games in a row, or they lose a big game that they should have won. That's just, what happens with a team that you are going through the kinks with an offense that is below average. So no blaming the protests. This was just the Ravens thing. The Ravens just got their butts whipped. Plain and simple. It's easy as day. So thank you so much for your question. And this has been the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to the Raven Space on YouTube for the best Baltimore Ravens content on the internet. Also, if you want to help support us and support independent media, please check the description below. You can join our Patreon page. We would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and go Ravens.
was lit.